What's up, Wholesale to Freedom fam? This is Alex Harshman, and today we're going to go over the ultimate beginner's guide to wholesaling real estate. Have you ever wanted to get into real estate but didn't have your own cash or credit? Well, wholesaling just might be your golden ticket. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down step by step a guide into wholesaling real estate that I wish I had when I first got started. There's going to be absolutely no fluff, just facts based on my years and hundreds of deals and experience. So let's dive straight in. So what is wholesaling real estate? Very simply put, you find a distressed property or a motivated seller, you put it under contract, and then you sell that contract to an end buyer for a fee. Basically, you're the middleman. You never have to own the property, you never have to flip it yourself, you just simply control the deal without ever having to buy it. It's a pretty simple concept, and it's actually very profitable when you can do it right. So stay till the end to make sure you get all the tips and tricks on how to do this exactly right, and I'll actually have a special offer for you at the end as well. You know, the first part of the wholesaling process is finding a motivated seller or distressed property. So how do you find these deals? Now remember, these people are in a distressed situation, whether it's through financial, maybe Doge cut their job and they're looking to relocate, whatever the case may be. They have some sense of distress that we're going to be able to provide a benefit to these people for a significant reduction in their purchase property price by adding value on the hassle-free side. And a great example of this that I love to use is I used to have a car that I rented out on Turo as a side business. And unfortunately, that car just had a bunch of problems on it, and it just became a money pit for issues. And on top of that, I had my third guest that rented it out. They absolutely just destroyed the vehicle because they were driving drunk, and I had to pay for it based on Turo's platform and their policies. So instead of trying to get the most amount of money for that car, I ended up just trading it in for a loss. And most people would say, well, why would you do that? Well, when you have a big enough headache of a property or a vehicle, whatever the case may be, you will do anything to get that off your hands just so you can move on. And that is a very small representation of the type of people we're looking for. So we don't want people who want to sell. We want people who need to sell. So with that being said, let's go over some of the 3 simplest ways to generate motivated sellers. One of my all-time favorites is driving for dollars. If you haven't seen my driving for dollars videos, I highly recommend you check them out, but we'll go over it briefly here just for those who are brand new. This is where you simply drive around the neighborhood, you walk around the neighborhood, or if you're super savvy like I am, you can do it virtually on Google Street View, whether it's in your own city or it's not. Number 2 is the tried and true cold calling. This is what I did for the last 5 years. Cold calling is the bread and butter of any sales position that you have out in the world. Not only is it a great marketing method to generate seller leads, but it's a great method to learn the number 1 skill that you need to have in this business. This is what separates us from all other wholesalers out there, is the ability to be able to talk to sellers and to filter them the way we need to lock these deals up virtually without ever having to see the property, go to see it, get any repair estimates, anything like that, and still wholesale this from the comfort of our own home. And then there's other options such as Facebook groups and Craigslist, where people post their properties for sale, where you can jump on the opportunity when you see it to find out more about the property and make that offer. So moving on to step number 2, now we're trying to put the property under contract. We found a seller, they're ready to move forward at the price that we agreed upon. Now we got to get it under contract. You're going to want to use a basic purchase and sales agreement, ideally read by an attorney. It's not financial advice, I'm not an attorney, but you want to make sure you're protected because there's going to be contingencies in there that help you in the event that this property just doesn't make sense, whether it's in a too remote area, maybe the seller lied to us and there's just way too many repairs for it to make sense at the numbers that we have it, or whatever the case may be. You want to be absolutely risk-free into this business. Things like subject to inspections. This allows us to get out of the property in case the inspection doesn't work out. And by inspections, we mean our cash buyers going out there and say, hey, listen, this thing's a teardown. I don't know what they told you, but it's just not worth it. Now remember, when we're locking up these properties, you're gonna wanna have it at the golden ratio. It's not the end all be all, but we've all heard, or maybe haven't heard, the 70% rule. What does that mean exactly? So once you figure out what the property's worth, you're gonna multiply that by 70% and then minus your repairs and minus your fee, and that's gonna come up with your max allowable offer. Now your max allowable offer is where we want to be at the worst case scenario, but ideally aiming underneath of that. So let's just break it down in a super simple math form. The property is going to be worth $100,000 once it's all fixed up. So now that we know the property is worth $100,000, we know an investor is going to be they want to be all in at 70% to what it's worth because they want to make 30% on their money. Generally speaking, this is not the end all be all. Again, there's markets where you can do this at 85%, and then there's markets that people pay 60%. It just depends on what that market demands. But for all intents and purposes, for the most part, if you lock a deal up at 70%, you should be able to sell that all day. So going back to the example, 100,000 times 70%, which is 70,000. Let's say it needs $10,000 worth of repairs, and we want to make $10,000 as our fee. So we would take that 70,000 minus 10,000 repairs, which gives us 60,000 minus our fee of 10,000, which is what we want to make. And this is an arbitrary number that you can come up with. It can be any amount of money you want to make. That's the beauty of it, as long as you can get that offer accepted. $10,000 as our fee. We're at $50,000 for our max allowable offer in order to make 10 grand on this deal. Again, ideally want to aim below that amount in order to get the most amount of money that we can. But our max allowable offer is going to be $50,000. If we lock it up at 50 or below, we should hypothetically be able to sell this deal at 60,000. The buyer puts 10 grand into it. They sell it for 100. They make 30 grand minus their closing costs and miscellaneous fees. But in a simple fashion, that is what getting it under contract is. And as an added bonus, I decided to add in a free contract template. This is the contract that I use nationwide. I recommend you get it reviewed by an attorney, but I've used this in every state that I've wholesaled and have had zero issues. So it's not financial advice, but it is a free download for you sticking through the video thus far. Down in the description, you can click that link, just type in your email, and I'll send that to you right away. If you're finding value out of this video, please be sure to subscribe, comment down below what you learned or what you're hoping to learn, and I'll be able to make a video on it or answer your questions down there. So now that we have the contract in place, we've now got to find a buyer. That way we can assign this contract to that buyer and collect our fee. One of my favorite ways to find a cash buyer is to cold call realtors in that local area and just ask them, hey, I have a couple properties I'm looking to offload. I got too many projects going on. Do you have any cash buyers or investors who might be interested in off-market opportunities? No, I don't want any parts of that. Great, thank you so much. Have a great day. But most times they're gonna say, yes, I have a ton of cash buyer investors who are looking right now. Please send me the details over email or text message, whatever the case may be. Here's my number, here's my email. We'll talk soon. That's what we're looking for in an ideal situation. Other ways you can do it is leverage Facebook. Facebook has a ton of real estate investor groups. You just simply type in whatever your city, state is, Atlanta, Georgia, real estate investors, for example, and you'll find Facebook groups that you can request to join. And most times, as long as you just answer those first couple questions, they let you in. You can introduce yourself, ask for realtors in the area, ask the questions that I mentioned, and you can post your deal up there oftentimes, and you can find a lot of cash buyers on there. Pro tip, you can also go up to the search bar once you're inside the groups and just type in @Gmail. And what that'll do is anybody who's ever posted an @Gmail email, you'll be able to get those and add them to your buyers list for potential buyers. Local real estate meetups is where I got my start. You can find a ton of super serious cash buyers there. Virtual meetups, so most of these real estate meetups have an online platform where you can post deals if you sign up for a monthly fee, like 10, 20 bucks. Highly worth it. As you go through these processes and these methods, you can build a list over time, refining it, getting it better, and just things get better as you go along in the business. You can also call We Buy Houses websites, see if they're interested in buying. And these are just some of the easiest ways to find cash buyers, and they're actually the tried and true ways. So it's not, hey, this is what everybody tells you to do, it doesn't work. No, this is the way that we do our business. Now, once you find the buyer, you send them the assignment contract, and then you're ready to close. Now, the assignment contract is simply just saying, hey, you're assigning your rights to the purchase and sale agreement to this end buyer who's going to take it all the way home, fix and flip it, keep it as a buy and hold. Who cares? All we care about is getting our money at closing. So what will happen is the buyer will wire their funds into the closing or title company. Once they wire that money to the title company, will do their thing, prorate all the expenses as far as utilities, taxes, and everything, make sure everybody's taken care of. And then they'll produce a final document to where you can see how much you're getting paid, the seller can see how much they're getting paid, and the buyer can see how much they owe. And once everybody approves that, you set up the closing date, everybody signs, you get paid, you get a check, or you can get it wired into your account, however you prefer, and then you rinse and repeat. It's as simple as that. So let's recap real quick. All you need to do is you need to find the deal, put the deal under contract, and assign it to an end buyer. That is the wholesaling process in a nutshell. Again, if you found value out of this video, please smash that subscribe button. Comment, like, share down below. If you have any questions, if you found any value from this video, whatever the case may be, please put it down below. I love learning from you guys. I love teaching. That's why I do this. And on top of that, I have an exciting opportunity. For those who may not know, I've recently started my own mentorship course where you can learn how to do the most refined methods on how to find these distressed sellers very simply. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money, and in fact, it's probably the way I would start all over again if I had to. And I have done that multiple times. I've closed some of my biggest deals to date using the methods that I teach inside my course, as well as the rental properties that I now own that have created me generational wealth for my family. Coming from absolutely nothing, literally where everything I own could fit in the back of my wife's car, to now having the dream house, the dream vehicles, everything I could imagine, all from wholesaling real estate and the methods that I teach inside of there. So if you're interested in buying that or being a part of our community, I'd love to see you in there. Of course, nothing in this life is free, but I paid over $50,000 to learn the information that I teach in my course for a fraction of that cost. I spent the last 2-3 years teaching 500 to 1,000 students how to wholesale nationally, virtually, locally, whatever the case may be, as well as helping them build generational wealth through flipping, keeping properties, having absolutely no money into their properties, everything in between. This is not fluff. This is not a sales pitch. I only want people who want to be in there. You have to be willing to take it to the next level. It is going to require action on your part. It is going to require you to invest in yourself. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is not going to be a you buy the course and then you're rich. This is you buy the course, you learn the skills that are going to pay you over and over again. Because if you lose it all, it doesn't matter. That's why the rich stay rich, because they've gained the skills to get it all back. It doesn't matter if they lost all their money or not. They just go back out to the marketplace, rinse, repeat. And so you need to know the number one skill, which is how to talk to sellers, which is the bread and butter of what I teach, on top of all the other things that are worth over $1 million in value. I know this because I've generated over 7 figures in a portfolio through these methods that I teach. So enough of that. I hope to see you in there. If not, be sure to like. I'm going to continue to drop some free content, some free value for you guys. And thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.